Today we're talking about games people play, and this is a big one. What if those arguments you keep having, or the roles you always seem to fall into, what if they aren't random at all? We're going to dive into the hidden scripts that are quietly running our lives, all based on the super fascinating work of Dr. Eric Berne. So, let me ask you this. Ever feel like you're just stuck in a loop, like you're having the exact same argument over and over again with someone? It could be your partner, a coworker, maybe even your mom. It feels like you're both reading from a script you never even agreed to. It's so frustrating, right? And totally predictable. You just can't seem to find a way out.
Here's where it gets really interesting. A psychiatrist named Eric Berne looked at this exact thing, and he said, you know what? Those frustrating loops, they're not random. Not at all. He came up with this idea that we're all following these hidden rules, playing out these unconscious games with each other. And honestly, it's a game-changing idea. Once you see it, so much of our social behavior just clicks.
Okay, so what in the world is a psychological game? Basically, Berne saw it as this unconscious script. It's a pattern of conversation, of interaction, that we just keep repeating. But here's the kicker. There's a hidden reason we do it. We're not just talking. We're trying to get a very specific, hidden, emotional reward at the end. And this is probably the most important part to get. The whole point of these games, it's not to win the argument, it's not to solve the problem. Nope. The real goal is to get to a certain feeling, a familiar, predictable feeling. Berne called this the payoff. That's what we're actually after. Okay, so what do these games actually look like in real life? This is the fun part. Berne pointed out a bunch of really common ones that you'll probably recognize. So let's dive into a few of these classic emotional scripts. All right, first up, we have a game that I'm betting a lot of us have seen or maybe even played. It's called See What You Made Me Do. And yeah, it's the ultimate game for dodging responsibility. So here's the setup. The player, let's call them player one, doesn't want to make a decision. So they kind of drag their feet and reluctantly agree to someone else's idea. You know, like, which restaurant should we go to? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I guess your idea is fine. They make it super clear this wasn't their choice. Then, when things inevitably go wrong, that's when they strike. They get to turn to the other person and hit them with the classic line, see what you made me do? And just like that, they get their payoff. It's this feeling of total relief, because now they're completely off the hook. All blame is shifted, and they escape every last bit of responsibility. Okay, moving on to another one. This next game is a little more, well, self-sabotaging. It's called Kick Me. And as you can guess, it's all about getting someone to give you a hard time. So the person playing Kick Me almost seems to have a talent for inviting criticism. They'll show up late for that super important meeting, or they'll accidentally spill coffee on the report. It's like they're walking around with a giant, invisible sign on their back that says, "Please, kick me." And when someone finally does get frustrated and calls them out on it, bam, the game is complete. But why? What's the hidden reward in getting kicked? It's a really powerful feeling of self-justification. That negative reaction confirms a deep-seated belief they have. Something like, see, I knew it. Everyone is always against me. It's a weird kind of comfort, the comfort of being proven right about how unfair the world is. All right, let's look at one more. This one's a bit more aggressive. It's called Now I've Got You. Think of it as the game of the trap setter. You know, that person who always seems to be waiting, just waiting for you to mess up so they can get angry. The player is basically lying in wait, just watching, until someone makes a tiny little mistake, a typo in an email, getting a small fact wrong, and then they pounce. They blow the mistake way out of proportion and unleash all this anger. Suddenly, the tiny error doesn't even matter anymore. The focus is all on the other person's failure. And the payoff for this one? It's a huge rush of moral superiority. For that one moment, they get to feel completely righteous, totally justified in their anger, and just, well, better than the person who messed up. So this all leads to the big question, right? Why on earth do we play these self-sabotaging games? If they just cause fights and make us miserable, why do we keep doing them? Well, it all comes back to that powerful, unseen payoff. And when you actually look at them all laid out, the pattern is just so clear. See What You Made Me Do gets you out of taking responsibility. Kick Me gives you that self-justification. Now I've Got You delivers that hit of moral superiority.
Each game is like a little machine designed to produce a specific feeling. And honestly, we can get kind of addicted to those feelings.
But here's the trap. These rewards, they feel good for a second, right? But they're a dead end. They keep us from having real, genuine connections with people. They stop us from actually solving problems. Instead, they just pull us deeper and deeper into these awful cycles of blame, conflict, and self-sabotage. They literally stop us from growing.
Okay, but it's not all bad news. This is the truly empowering part of Berne's entire idea. The second you become aware that you're in a game, you get the power to stop playing it. You can actually choose a different path. Now, a quick but really important warning here. The point isn't to learn this stuff so you can go around diagnosing everybody else. Pointing your finger and saying, aha, you're playing now, I've got you. Because guess what? That just becomes another game. The real, life-changing power comes from turning that spotlight on yourself and figuring out your own patterns. So, how do you actually stop? It's a three-step process, really. First, just recognize the pattern. Start to notice, oh, here we go again, this feels familiar. Second, and this is the tough one, you have to refuse the payoff. So if your go-to game is kick me, you have to actively resist that comfortable poor me feeling. And third, you just choose honesty. You replace the game with just saying what you actually mean directly. And when you do that, you get the ultimate prize. Breaking free from these games lets you build real, authentic relationships. You're moving away from this world of unconscious manipulation and into a world of maturity and honesty. A world where you can actually solve problems and truly connect with people. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you can kind of see these hidden scripts, what's one unconscious game in your own life that you might be ready to stop playing?